Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Boro Fan TV and the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. It was a week that seen Boro exit the League Cup at the first stage, but respond with a crucial victory in the league in the first game back in front of fans at the Riverside at the weekend. Joining me to look back at those two games are Tony Guest, David Campbell and Damon LaRoche. Welcome again, lads.
Evening all.
Boro fans, share your thoughts on the week that's just passed, those two games, the League Cup game and the first home match at the Riverside this season. And we're also going to look ahead to the games coming up this week against Queen's Park Rangers and Derby County. So let us know your thoughts and views. We always appreciate them on the show. So, Tony, we'll start with the bad bit first this evening. We'll go back to our game against Blackpool in the League Cup last Wednesday night. Our involvement in the League Cup was short and sweet, or not so sweet this year. Neil Warnock was criticised after the game, Tony, in some quarters for his team selection. What were your thoughts on the matter?
Like you could see the size of our squad. I know a lot of lads never went to Blackpool because they knew what the team selection was going to be. And really, these cup games, like you say, for us, with our squad, like you say, it's just a lot of squad players, and it's not just Middlesbrough that's guilty of it. Respect to the competition that was successful, but didn't expect anything else from Warnock, James. You know what I mean? Like you say, the team he picked was still quite capable of getting at Blackpool. It's just, like you say, thank God it wasn't 3 points, and it was the Carabao Cup we went out of.
Yeah, fair points made. Sorry, I mean, David, I don't think it should be overlooked as well that Blackpool made 7 changes of their own on the night as well. So it wasn't a case of that we were playing Blackpool's first team. They made a lot of changes as well. Do you think that's an illustration of how much work still needs to be done on Boro's squad?
Oh, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, some of the players who were playing were obviously just squad fillers, and I think, we were playing their reserves as well. But ours had a lot of changes in it where players haven't played together, so they're still gelling, and I think that might have made a massive impact. Where Blackpool haven't had a massive overhaul in the summer like we have, so they'll know each other's games a little bit more. So I wasn't particularly bothered about going out. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of an offensive go for it, as you like, even if we did get beat, especially with the following that we took, 2,000 odd fans going that way and not turning up even on an attacking side and getting beat 3-0 was largely disappointing.
Yeah, do you think that's maybe
Dave, you've just said there 2,000 fans. I don't think they'll have been that disappointed. There was other reasons why the 2,000 fans went to Blackpool. You know what I mean, Dave?
On a Wednesday night.
On a Wednesday night. Any night's a good night in Blackpool, Dave.
It wasn't so good in that away end last Wednesday, Tony. I'll tell you that. It wasn't that great. The thing is, though, do you think, in a way, some people, that's maybe where the frustration was coming from with Warnock? Not so much the fact that we did go out the competition, but the way that we got beaten. Maybe the fact that, as you say, over 2,000 fans took the time and money to go down there and watch that game. Or do you think most people were sort of resigned to it before the match?
No, you always go to a game, no matter who you're playing, expecting to see an attacking match or at least going for it and wanting to win. Listening to it and seeing the highlights, we weren't in it from day one, from kickoff, so I can understand where the fans' frustrations came. And to be honest with you, I think that put a bit of a damper going on Saturdays, going into the Saturday's game. Speaking to a few fans and friends before the game, people were talking about the Blackpool result, and it sort of put a dampener on going into the season. So luckily, obviously, we got the result on Saturday, but had we not, we could be talking completely different.
I think you're right, mate. Damon, on the night at Blackpool, Martin Piero made his debut. What did you make of his contribution, and did anyone in the visiting lineup that night come out of the game with any credit for you?
Yeah, he had a couple of Martin Piero had a couple of set pieces, free kicks. Didn't do much with them, but he's he's just learning. He's only come in. It's going to take time for him to settle in, isn't it, James?
Mhm.
But as far as the rest of the squad goes, it was disappointing, really. But as I said, I wasn't. I said at the start, I wasn't bothered about the cup games. It's the league. The league's the bread and butter, and that's what we want to focus on more than anything in the world. Is try and get this club back up to the Premier League if possible. But we need more strength and depth in this squad.
Definitely, yeah. Tony, before we move on from the Blackpool game, I mean, it was a deserved win for the home side. Is there any sort of disappointment, though, for you that their reward was a home game against Sunderland in the next round? Is there any disappointment on missing out on that game, or do you think that's just a distraction we don't need?
Like you say, it'd have been great to get the Mackhams in the next round of the cup, but they're just like, it's hypothetical now, James. Innit? We took a good beating off Blackpool, so they can have the pleasure of knocking Sunderland out in the next round, mate.
I hope you're right, Tony. I hope you're right. Lee Bailey's been in touch. He said, I was resigned to defeat before the Blackpool game. Focuses solely on the league, as Damon said, but it still didn't stop me travelling down, though. And Craig Hutchinson, he's been in touch. Well, Blackpool was a minutes under the belt for those that needed them. And a look at the players he hasn't seen much, and I think that's a fair point. And Warnock's alluded to that it was lads that hadn't got much pre-season action, and they used that game against Blackpool the other night to get a bit of that in. Saturday then, lads, the big one, the big first home game back at the Riverside, Bristol City. David, it was the return to the Riverside of fans. Describe your emotions in the build-up to the game.
It was surreal, and yeah, it just didn't feel real going into the game and getting up and doing your normal things that you do on match day, and then walking to the ground and seeing, I was pinching myself at times. It's been a long overdue 18 months, and all those feelings that we've been thinking for the last 18 months, once that kickoff started, it just seemed like it was only yesterday we were in the ground for me. And it was electric. The atmosphere was brilliant.
Yeah. I think, Tony, just picking up on that point that David's made there, I mean, the crowd was 22,000, yet I've been in the Riverside where there's been more fans in the ground than that, yet the atmosphere hasn't been as good as that. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It didn't feel like 22,000, and the pitch side announcer, I don't think he announced the size of the crowd. I didn't find out till yesterday how many was actually in there, and it felt a hell of a lot more than 22,000. But then when you see the picture of the south stand and you see how sparse it was, down our end of the pitch, yeah, 22,000, but the atmosphere was absolutely unbelievable. Like you say, from getting up and, the wife must have thought she was married to someone else. It's been that long since I've been to the match. She said, where are you going? I said, well, it's match day. You know what I mean? I'm going to match. It's been that long. I think she forgot the Riverside was there. So, like you say, it was unreal. Parking the car up and walking down to the stadium, seeing all you guys again stood outside doing our normal things. Yeah, they are normal, and we're back, as football fans, things are back to normal. And, South Stand Art and Crafts Club put a big banner up again, you know what I mean? And I couldn't see Neil Warnock getting his reception from the fans, but, let them have their moment. But the atmosphere was unbelievable, absolutely fantastic. Come on, Dave.
I was just going to say, I think the ticket office did a good job, because I was speaking to someone yesterday who works in the ticket office, and they were saying they were giving the instructions to put the fans more together. And I noticed that there was only like certain little sections where it'd been cordoned off where there was no fans, so you didn't really see many holes in the north, the south, the east, or the west. It was mainly in the corners.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. In the atmosphere in the concourse before the game, you're talking 2:00, and that was absolutely bouncing in the south stand. And I was just hoping they weren't going to sing themselves out, because the noise was tremendous, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I know Paul Nicholas has been in touch there saying that he loved getting back in the Riverside and his first experience in the south stand, and he absolutely loved it, but his feet were killing afterwards. And James Donegan, nice to have you on board with us, James. And I think this is a fair point. A lot of people can probably relate to it that were there Saturday. And he said, don't know about you lads, but I had something in my eye when we belted out You Are My Borough.
Yeah.
Really special, wasn't it? Really special day.
Yeah.
And Damon, moving on to the match, I mean, pre-match, kick-off, when the teams were announced, I think the wind was taking out the sails of quite a few Borough fans when they saw there was no Duncan Watmore, no Marcus Tavernier. Did their absence pre-game concern you?
It did, yeah, because obviously I couldn't make it to the game because of financial issues. But listening to it on the radio, you could feel the atmosphere actually like you were there, which was amazing. But as far as the lineup was concerned, I was a bit worried that we didn't have Watmore in. Obviously, I knew Tav was carrying a slight injury anyway. But the lads that he put out done the business for us, and we got the result that we needed. And Ikpanzu was amazing, as was Jones and Dykesdale as well. Was a
we'll
good
get
player.
on to those lads in a minute. Tony, can I bring you back on this? Just going back to the Blackpool game again and the cup match. Raymond Lancaster, thanks for getting in touch, mate. He's been in touch and he's just debating the merits of playing a weekend side. And he feels as though our strongest team should have been played. No excuse at Blackpool. We've won one cup in 135 years. Do people forget the feeling of winning the Carling Cup? But I would suggest that maybe the club as a whole is totally different to the one that played in the Carling Cup in 2004. And the club's in a completely different position now. What would you say to that, Tone?
I totally agree with every word that is written there. You know what I mean? That's exactly how I feel, you know. But the situation that we're in now where, for instance, you know, before Saturday we lost Tavernier and we lost Watmore, and it was Warnock's thinking that we couldn't afford to lose any more senior players. You know, it would have been nice to put a stronger 11 out, and yeah, the reward was there against Sunderland. But we have to look at the bigger picture at the moment. We've got a stick thin squad, so yeah, it was disappointing, and I totally understand where the lad's coming from. But it's been like this for the last couple of seasons now, and it's, you know, like you said there, James, we're a totally different club to what we were in them days. You know what I mean? And the cloth's been cut now. And talking before the game on Saturday with a brother-in-law about this season and the future of the club. You look at that Premier League now, and it's going to take one massive effort to get us out of this championship, and it's going to be an even bigger effort for us, you know, to stay in the Premier League if we ever get there in the near future.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, Tone. David, bringing it back to the Bristol City game, I mean, we talked about the absences and who wasn't involved, but the new forward line, as it was at the weekend, Ikpanzu, Crooks, Isaiah Jones and Jed Spence, they all impressed in their own way. I mean, Ikpanzu opened the scoring in 38th minute.
Yeah.
Can you sum up his display, especially if you want to compare it to maybe past forwards we've had in recent seasons?
Well, on your home debut, scoring and assisting isn't a bad return, is it? And he was a handful all game, to be fair. I think he's proven that we know he's not going to get 15 to 20 goals. I think we can accept that. He's going to struggle to play 90 minutes because of the way he plays. Yeah. But what you see is what you get, and I think fans going to appreciate how much he puts himself about. The only negative I'd say, he needs to be a little bit more clever when he's competing for the ball, because the referee is looking for that foul every time that ball goes up against him, because he's always looking to hold the player. And I know a few of the fans were thinking there was free kicks our way, but I could see him pulling the defender's shirt. Likewise, they were doing it to him. And I think sometimes you need to be a little bit more acute as a striker. But when you're talking about the front four forwards, which we did there, when I seen the lineup before the game and when I was speaking to you, James, and Guesty, I was a little bit worried to see where the goals were coming. But I thought Matt Crooks was magnificent. And Jed Spence, who obviously I really don't like, I thought he put a massive shift in. And he looked positive. There was no dwindling on the ball. He was getting his head up, passing it, moving. And it's everything that we've actually wanted to see. And I just hope that talk that Warnock's had with him pushes him on to the next level, you know. And Isaiah Jones, you can see he's raw. He makes a few bad decisions throughout the game, but hopefully the more he plays, the more confidence he gets. And I think once you get the likes of Tavernier and a few strikers, I think we will create more. I'm optimistic.
Yeah. Paul Nicholas has been in touch again then, saying, not forgetting that Ikpeazu, he was quality and he was an absolute workhorse. And Damon, how important is it as a striker coming to a new club that you open your account early? He's off the mark for the season. How important is that for him?
Well, it's vital because it'll boost his confidence and he'll want to do well. And Warnock's relying on him, isn't he? Because that's the only one we've got at the moment. With Akpom isolating, of course, and Akpom wants to be away, doesn't he? So, but as far as Ikpeazu goes, I don't know what the lads think, but he reminds me of very much. You're on about past players. He reminds me of much of Mark Viduka holding the ball up. He's that type of player, and he'd bring other people into the game, and he's a workhorse. And give him the time, and he will get goals for us.
He'd be some player if he ends up anywhere near Mark Viduka, Damon. I tell you, he's one of the best strikers I've seen in recent years. I think
best striker I've seen in a blue shirt.
Yeah, I think he's all up. I think though, James.
That's a strange comparison.
I'd go more Hamilton Rickard myself, but never mind.
Yeah, Hamilton Rickard's man.
I mean, Tony, David mentioned there that Ikpeazu and Matt Crooks linked up well, and I think, again, Crooks has illustrated what a shrewd signing he's been by Warnock, because we'll get on to his goal later on, but just his general play, he's good with the ball at his feet, but the physical presence he has as well, he offers you an awful lot, and he's going to give us a lot more physicality and presence at that end of the pitch this year, which we haven't had for a few years, Warney.
Like you say, James, it's totally different. I've got to hold my hands up, and after seeing him in the flesh for the first time on Saturday, I felt Ikpeazu, challenge as if he's just knocked someone out. That strut, you know what I mean? And I agree with Dave. He needs to, he is a big physical lad, but he needs to get away from all this grappling, because I think for the first 20 minutes, I thought he was a WW wrestler, you know what I mean? But yeah, compared to what I've seen on the TV of him at Fulham, he does hold the ball up well. He wins a hell of a lot of challenges. And on his goal, James, for the last 2 or 3 seasons, we wouldn't have scored a goal like that. Because if our crosses have missed the first man, they've usually gone out for a throw-in or a goal kick. Now, the big lad, he had the presence of mind, to hold his position and come in at the back post. And it was a typical striker's goal. And like you say, on Matt Crooks, they're just bringing something different at the moment to what we've had for the last couple of seasons, James. They were working together. Matt Crooks, like you say, he wasn't a signing that excited me, but we're going to rely on these players to get us up. You know what I mean, James? So, 2 both scored on their own debut. You can't ask for anything more than that, you know what I mean? And Ikpeazu, I'll hold my hands up. Like the lad said there, he's not going to get us 15, 20 goals. But if we do get anyone in, we do have to play 2 up front. We have to get someone alongside him, because it's pointless him winning balls, knocking it back into midfield or knocking it on. We need the legs around him, to profit from it, James. And like you say, I'm in the Isaiah Jones camp at the moment, because I feel his contribution in his first 2 games. He's created 2 goals, you know what I mean? He got us back in the game at Fulham with his assist for a bowler. And like you say, his assist for the first goal, where he just totally destroyed their fullback. And for me, it was a joy to watch. He was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, we'll get on to him in a second. So,
yeah.
David, just mentioning there, David Jackson's been in touch, and he said if Ikpeazu would score as many as Rickard, that'd be amazing. Sadly, he only managed 6 last season. Well, he was at Wickham, but remains to be seen how many he'll get this season. But on the point that Tony made there about playing 2 up front, do you ever see Warnock playing 2 up front, or do you think it'll be pretty much how we were at the weekend?
I think once you go one goal behind, it will then revert to the two up top. Away from home, I can't see that. I can only see him going with the two wide players, and then maybe Max Hutch as a number 10. I don't think he'd be that offensive away from home. We want to keep it tight and nick it. But when you're playing teams like Bristol City at home, I can't see why he won't. But one of Warnock's strong points is he adapts throughout the game. So he might not start with it, but if we're not performing the way he does, he's not afraid to change stuff. So if we don't see it from the start, I wouldn't worry about it. But Hutchy needs a big supply. And I know what you're saying about he only scored 6 for Wickham last season, but they were a team that got relegated in the end. He never played this first game till November. And I dare say the quality of the Wickham wasn't as what he's going to be getting at us, hopefully, if we can add a few more players. So I don't like really comparisons to when people at previous clubs, because every manager plays differently.
Yeah, fair enough. Christian Lamb's just been in touch about this, Matt, and he said we don't need 2 up top as long as we have 3 good players behind him. And he certainly had that at the weekend. And Damon, I think the only thing that people could probably criticise the side for in the first hour or so was that they didn't add to the 1 goal that Ikpeazu scored. And as so often happens in the Championship, we were punished for that, weren't we, with quite a soft goal, really.
Yeah, it was poor marking from our defence for Andy King's goal. Just absolutely switched off from a set piece, which is time and time again, that's always happened with the Boro. We always switch off from set pieces, but we should have killed it off in the first half. The chances we had were ridiculous. It was constant pressure from us, and obviously second half they got the equaliser. They shoved Naki Wells on and a few others, and but we managed to contain them in the last 10-15 minutes of the game, and we got the goal. So
do you know on their goal, Damon? Dave, James. Do you know? Like you'd have all these gurus now. You'd have set piece gurus, defensive gurus, and God knows what else. As soon as there was no need for Grant Hall to dive in to give the free kick away in the first place, but when you seen the goalkeeper Lumley setting the wall up, you've got our 2 smallest players. You had Bowler and Jones in the wall, and that totally baffled me. You know. Just when they were setting up for the free kick. So I'm thinking, you know, we've got enough height in the middle. Well, I thought we had enough height in the middle to deal with what Bristol City were shotting at us. But it just seems strange putting the 2 smallest players in front of the ball.
Yeah. Can I just make a point on Saturday? I don't know about you guys, but I think I don't want to be negative Nancy here. But let's not forget how poor Bristol City were. They were extremely, extremely poor. One of the worst.
They definitely were for the first hour, mate. I thought we were up against much poorer teams than this year.
They had about a 15-minute spell in the second half after they equalised, where they looked half decent. If we play a stronger team, which we're going to, that team on Saturday will struggle to score goals. So that was my only downfall.
And do you also think then, on the flip side of that, David, is that he may have to, in certain games, even at home, and this might go against the grain for a lot of Boro fans, play 2 holding midfielders, because he got away with playing 1 at the weekend. And yes, we scored 2 goals, but in that 15 minutes against a pretty poor Bristol City side, it cut us open.
100%. A better team will cut us apart. And I've seen someone in the comments there asking for all of our favoured midfield, and I don't know if you just want to jump on it, but for me, Morsey and McNair, because they can both sit, but if we go behind, McNair can push on. So they're adaptable, and I think if you're playing Howson, which we did, he's only got one side of his game. And I just didn't see that, where Morsey is a little bit more fluid. So for me, those 2 would be my starting 2 for every game.
Yeah, see, touching on what you said, David, there. I think Saville was missing in that position, wasn't he? I mean, Saville did did a job in going forward for me. But as far as Paddy McNair and Marcy, they need to be in that back, just behind the back line. So it'll stem it, and then hopefully we get something out of the next game.
I just think with Howson, he hasn't got that legs, has he? So if we do come up against a defensive team at home, he's going to be chasing shadows.
Yeah. Howson wasn't at his best on Saturday, and like you say, it's been a problem we've had for a couple of seasons now. The gap between our midfield and our strikers and wingers, it's always been too big, and we always struggle to win second ball because they're sitting so deep anyway. But it's a problem. Like Damon said there, we it's funny because people didn't like him, but we did miss someone like a George Saville on Saturday because he had the legs, not much pace, but he had the legs to get in there.
Yeah.
But like you say, we've got to put our trust in Warnock for this season and hopefully get some more signings in to improve the squad, because I think the squad that we've got at the moment, it's not good enough to get us anywhere near the top six, but a couple more signings and we've got to be considered.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair point. I always find it fascinating and interesting that people have been to the game at the weekend or listened to it and whatever and read the reports in the papers and the different opinions that people had. And I know one or two mentioned there that maybe they felt that Howson struggled. There's others that are saying that they felt Paddy McNair was, by his standards, had a very quiet game at the weekend. And yet we still came out with a win. And Tony, as you mentioned earlier on, we're going to go back to the more positive side of things now. Isaiah Jones, for a lad that's not really featured a great deal in pre-season, came on at Craven Cottage, helped change the game there. And at the weekend, I just found it so refreshing that you had a wide man that was not only willing to try and take his defender on, but also delivering some great balls into the box. He's been a revelation, hasn't he?
Thank God Sammy Amiobi's injured, James, because we'd never have seen him. He's been an absolute... For the 20 minutes and the 90 minutes what he got on Saturday, did he do the full 90 on Saturday? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he's a breath of fresh air. All he wants to do was get the ball, be direct. Yeah, he is raw, Dave, but that's how you want him. And as a Boro fan, what we've had the last few seasons, it's a breath of fresh air because he absolutely ripped that Bristol City full-back to bits. He tortured him for the goal, and he's getting booted. He can take a tackle and he gets straight back up, and that's what we want. And I didn't realise he was so small and slight. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not going to say what he reminds me of because. He just the way he runs and the way he moves, it reminds me of a certain number 10 that we used to have. But obviously he's not. Yeah, I'm just saying the way he runs. I'm not saying the way he plays.
I was just saying we'd be calling Lumley Schwartz the next one.
Was that Benny Carboni? Was it he reminds you of there, Tony?
I'm just comparing the running styles, not the footwork. But yeah, he's a breath of fresh air, and hopefully, obviously with Tav and Watmore out, he's had a chance to start. But I'm just hoping Warnock perseveres with him. Do you know what I mean? So it's another option.
Do you think it might get to the point, though, Tony, in fairness? I mean, no doubt the lad, and I'm sure Neil Warnock will be keeping his feet on the ground, but he's had a lot of praise in the last week or so from Boro fans, in the press, on social media. He'll keep his feet on the ground, but also ensure that he doesn't sort of like burn himself out type thing, or are we expecting too much for this to be happening week in, week out with Isaiah Jones? Have you got to sort of level yourself with the thought that we'll have a little bit of a different form?
It's a championship, James, isn't it? You know what I mean? Consistency with a lot of these players, not just at our club, throughout the league, consistency is really difficult for these players, you know what I mean, to perform 2 or 3 times a week. So Warnock will keep him grounded. The kid will be chomping at the bit. But Warnock will manage him right. But he's 22, 23 now, James. He's not one of the younger players, and whether Whether Warnock gives him a decent run in the team, I don't know. But like you say, it's not going to be like that every week with him. There's going to be we were on about Jed Spence there, and the lad gets a lot of stick. But every time Jed got the ball on Saturday, they were doubling up on him. And on occasions in the first half, it wasn't just 2 players; he had 3 players around him. You know what I mean? So that's going to happen to Jones. The more he plays and the more managers see him, that's going to happen to Jones. And it's up to him then to work out how his game's going to develop then. So hopefully he gets a decent run. And hopefully Amiobi has the slowest return to football ever.
Worst signing we could have made.
I just think, obviously, remains to be seen what Amiobi brings to the team. And I think it's hard to have a go at a bloke that's not played for us yet. And I'm sure he's got qualities, which is why Neil Warnock's brought to the club. But in terms of Jones, as I think it was David Jackson said there, he offers pace to a side which is pretty, at times, pedestrian and slow. And he offers us something which we don't have a great deal of. Would you agree, David?
Yeah, and Boro fans like a wide player who just goes at players. I mean, Carriol was blessed with pace and ability to beat players, and we loved him, didn't we? And sometimes I think with players like that, you just need to let them off the leash and let them go, rather than look at their defensive side. And he's got. He can only get better, can't he, with the likes of Tavernier coming into the team?
Yeah. And on the fans again, David, I mean, we said on last week's show that those fortunate enough to be at the game at the Riverside, could they respond to the occasion? Would they live up to the billing and create a special atmosphere? And they certainly did. From what Tony said, the banners at the South Stand, there was a banner down at the North Stand of the NHS, and the fans did create a special atmosphere, didn't they?
Oh, 100%. And I think they got us over the line once it went to the equaliser. It would have been quite easy for the fans to stop and start getting nervous, but they continued as it was the first whistle. And I think they pushed us on to get the equaliser. And the players' heads didn't drop because of that. Yeah. But we need that type of atmosphere every game. It's all right just doing the one-offs. Yeah. We haven't seen that atmosphere since Brighton. Yeah. And that's not good enough, which was 3-4 seasons ago. We need to make that home support like that every single game. We need to make the Riverside a fortress. And I thought the Sea of Red was electric.
No, I think that's good points that you made there.
There was one disappointing thing. Like we've been through it all summer. But what happened to the 3 England lads? We had it at the Boro for the Austria game and the Romania. Like you say, the only disappointment for me, and it did piss me off a bit, because it's a player's choice whether they want to take the knee. You know what I mean? It's not going to affect none of us in any shape, way, or form by what the players are doing before kick-off. The club and all the other clubs really made a massive thing about us all being together. It's a game for everyone. There was a fantastic announcement about 10 minutes before kick-off, which the Riverside applauded. You know what I mean? It was absolutely brilliant piece. The Riverside applauded, and behind me in the South Stand, when the lads took the knee, there was booing, and I just don't get it now, James. The booing, it's not on. Look, we've all got an opinion, but the booing, it's not for me now, James. You know what I mean? We've seen the abuse. We all witnessed the abuse that these lads are getting. So that's enough for me. That's enough for me for them to make their stand, to show that, we are all equal, and they don't deserve to be booed now.
Yeah.
They don't They don't ever, they don't ever need to be booed, but after the summer, what's gone on, it's let them take the knee. Let them, take let the players take their stance.
I mean, like you, I was in the North Stand, and I could hear booing. I don't know which stand it was from, but I could hear booing. But what I will say is it was quickly drowned out by applause. I think certainly a lot quicker and a lot louder than it was at the England game at the Riverside. As you say, people are inclined for whatever reason to disagree with players taking the knee. Then just don't applaud it. Then if you don't want to applaud it, I don't see what purpose it serves booing it. I really don't.
Yeah, I
just
agree
think that's
completely.
just totally
Right.
self-defeating, and I don't think it'll spur the players on to perform any better for
But-
us. Certainly,
well,
I just don't get it at all.
What shocked me more, it was like you say, it was after the response of the announcement where every person in that Riverside applauded the announcement. You know what I mean? And then, but that was the only negative. Like you say, it was a
Yeah.
fantastic day and a fantastic result.
Yeah. And Damon, anyone else? We've mentioned quite a few other players. Ezzy, any other players from that day that you want to single out for any praise that we haven't mentioned? We've mentioned a lot of the lads going forward. What about at the back?
Anthony Dykesdale stood out for me. Is a good player. Spence had a good game. As I agree with David. He's not my favourite cup of tea at times, but he definitely gets stuck in, and he did well on Saturday, and I was happy. And then obviously you've got the likes of Dale Fry, and he's always immense, isn't he? So let's be honest.
I think we just take it for granted now, don't we, Damon? That Dale Fry and Grant all are going to put in steady performances every week, and maybe we shouldn't be sort of like as blasé about it, because they make it look so easy at times, don't they?
Yeah, the quality, David and James and Tony, they're absolutely quality. I mean, if you think though, if someone comes in for Fry, we're absolutely screwed.
Yeah.
Really, we're absolutely screwed, because who we got to play there? Who we're going to play there?
You'd have to talk big money, Damon, wouldn't you, to let him go?
You're talking at least 20-25 million at least.
Yeah.
Here's one for you, Tony. Here, getting onto the big topics that matter. Liam McDermott said, when will Warnock branded bum bags be in the club shop?
I think they're already on Doggy and Stockton Market, James. I'm sure that's where Neil got his from. Like you say, I can't see. It's difficult to look at Neil Warnock as a fashion icon. You know what I mean, James? Teaching Teessiders how to dress. I must say, what we're on about there, our back four. It's what we had last season, and it's solid, James. And we've got the new keeper behind Lumley, who looked quite comfortable on Saturday, and his interaction with the South Stand in the second half was absolutely fantastic. Fair play to the lad, you know what I mean? He was loving being in that goal as much as we were being behind him. That kid had a great day as well.
So, sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but you talked about Joe Lumley. I've just seen one of the comments on Dave Clement about one of his kicks. And we've all played 11 aside, and I'd said to my friend in the game, I was like, I wouldn't like be a striker hitting one of his kicks, because they were clearing the ground.
David, what do you think was going through Martin Payero's mind when he was seeing? Do you think he was on the phone back to Argentina on Saturday night saying, I saw a ball getting kicked in the air, just to say past it? What?
I think he was
sing out like that.
I think he was asking for a hard hat. Coming from that, I mean, Jesus, there was so many times where the players let the ball bounce because it was in the mind whether to duck or try what to do with it. The problem is there was no need in him taking it that high. Jesus.
Yep, Zach Buckley says Lumley's kicks break aviation rules. I think you're quite right there, Zach.
It's different from Nelly going.
We'll move on from Bristol City now. Welcome 3 points that it was, lads. But Tony, despite that win, the match day squad, if you looked at our bench, I think really at the weekend, that highlights that further reinforcements are definitely needed. I know we've signed the lad from Billericay yesterday. Now there's one or two of the viewers tonight are mentioning that there's a deal on the verge of being agreed with a Slovakian called Spoara. I don't know much about that at the moment, but the bench on its own is crying out for more players, isn't it, and more experience.
Yeah, we've got to get some depth from somewhere, and like the lads are saying there, I think the window's got 14, 15 days left to be open, so, if someone does come in for Dale or whoever, McNair, Morsey, I don't think we're, like you say, we're in a position to refuse anybody's money, no matter how much it is. I did in 25 million. If someone dropped £10 million on Gibson's mat for Dale Fry, I think he'd be a goner. So we do need to strengthen. We definitely need someone else up front with Hutchy and crew, for back to him, or just to push him on a bit. We've got Piero to come into the midfield. Pajero, is it? If like you say, the kid can't speak English yet, and he did show a couple of glimpses on Saturday of what he's capable of. He tried a free kick, which was one of them massive letdowns. He had a little run where he travelled with the ball, and I think the goals must be a bit closer in Argentina because from where he's trying to shoot from, you know what I mean? So, yeah, we definitely need some strength and depth. Whether we get another full-back. Warnock was on the radio today and talking about the players that we've lost, you know what I mean? And, yeah, I've seen on the comments there, we've let Wing go, we've let Coulson go.
Yeah.
That did question, that did put some doubts in my mind where we were going, but maybe he's another full-back, a right-back or a left-back, James, and maybe he's another centre-half. But definitely a striker.
Yeah. I know Dave Clements has got in touch there. He's saying there's no chance that Fry will leave with 10 million. And he feels as though that Steve Gibson had to assure Warnock that the crown jewels, in some sense, of Warnock, Fry, McNair and Tav won't be sold, or he wouldn't agree to stay on for another season. But obviously, David, there's going to be a club beyond this season, whether Neil Warnock stays or not. And sometimes money talks, doesn't it?
100%. You took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say money talks, and I think even Warnock, he's quite acute what he says to the press, but in reality, he understands if a 20 million bid comes for Tavernier and Gibson says, right, you're going to have, 10 million of that, and you can get 2 or 3 players in, you can't turn that money away. And I think ultimately that's the model this club needs to go down, at looking at bringing youngsters in and selling them on for a big profit. We might not like it as fans, but we do need to accept, to be a sustainable club, that's our way forward, unfortunately. And the likes of Brentford run like that, Norwich run like that, and they have a good turnover and they keep replacing it with quality. So I think sometimes, we don't want to see Fry go, but if you can get 3 decent players in for that, you've got to accept it.
Yeah, 100%. Like you say there, look at the players Brentford have sold probably the last 3 or 4 seasons, yet they've still managed to progress. And I think that's the avenue we're probably going to go down, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't see I know quite a lot of fans think that's a negative way to run a football club, but for me, we've been in the Championship for so long, that's the only route we can go down.
Yeah.
It's worked for Southampton, Dave.
100% Guesty. I mean, would you be happy with that, Guesty?
It's the future, Dave, yeah. And for us, I questioned our ambitions last season when Brentford signed Ivan Toney for 7-8 million, whatever it was, and we're scrapping about signing players for £1 million. Yeah. Their models is absolutely the way to go. I don't know, you lads, would you want our club to be a yo-yo club? Because personally, I think Norwich and Brentford will come straight back down, even after that magnificent performance on Friday night.
But Tony, I can't even see us being yo-yo at the minute, because we're just at the minute, we've been 1 year in the last 12 in the Championship, so we're not yo-yoing.
That's what I mean. We've just been bobbing along in the Championship. We've had We've had one promotion in God knows how many years. Yeah. But like you say, that's the model that we're trying to, trying to create to be similar to Norwich. We brought the guy in from Norwich. So I dare say we're trying to follow their model. But like you say, they're up and down more than enough, Norwich. But I think that's the future now, because the clubs in the Premier League are getting so much stronger now to what it was in the Championship when we went up under Robson. It's a totally different ball game now.
100%. Yeah. Go on, Damon. Did you want to come in there, pal?
Yeah. I just said the Tony touched on it there. The Kieran Scott who's going to come in. I think he's going to come in at the end of the month, isn't he? But I think what it is that I think he still be pulling strings behind the scene while he's still at Norwich and saying to Middlesbrough, look, you should go after this player, you should go after that player, you know. But hopefully, and I've just seen on one of my social media sites that Andres Spazar, is it that you were on about?
Yeah.
The deal's been agreed apparently, 5.5 million from Sporting Lisbon.
Oh, well, it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. Damon, we'll move on to tomorrow's game, and I'll bring you in. We're playing QPR tomorrow at home. Started 2 fixtures this week against Mark Warburton's Super Hopes. They've got 4 points like ourselves from the first 2 games, and some see them as a bit of a dark horse this season. What you're expecting on Wednesday night?
A very tough game, James. A very, very tough game. It'll be tough, and we'll be lucky to get a draw out of it, to be honest, if I'm quite honest with you. I think though, if we put on a performance as we did in the first half against Bristol, I think, and take our chances, I think we could win it. But you just don't know. But it'll be tough because Warburton's got them playing, hasn't he? And that Elias Chair, is it? I'm a big fan of him. He's a good player for QPR. Yeah. But there's a number of players at QPR, Lyndon Dykes as well. It's a player we should have had. But he's a good player. But as I said, hopefully we'll get some out of it, and fingers crossed we do.
Yeah. David, do you see us changing any of our personnel on Wednesday night? Do you think you'll go with a change of formation, or will it be the same as on Saturday?
No, I'll go from what I said from last season. I don't believe on changing a winning team. I think you've got to have momentum and fill them with confidence and carry on. So I'd be very surprised unless obviously injuries have taken a toll or there's knocks. But I'd stick with the same side. QPR is going to be a complete different opposition. They're very good, possession-wise. So where Bristol City, they were bypassing the midfield, which I thought worked to our advantage, really. They were trying long balls. Wednesday's going to be a complete different story, so it'll be an interesting matchup, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, Tony, Paul Nicholas has been in touch again, and he said he's got a few worries about Wednesday night in terms of the players that QPR have going forward, like Dykes, Charlie Austin. He said some of the cracks that maybe appeared during that second half at the weekend, QPR, unlike Bristol City, will punish us if we play that way. Do you have those sort of fears as well, Tone?
No, because I felt our defence has done quite well. Don't forget with Fulham, who done Huddersfield for 5 on Saturday, you know, and through that one lapse of concentration, the free kick, you know, I felt we were under no pressure at all. I thought the back four dealt with everything well on there. I thought Ike Steele had a good game. Bowler had his normally steady game. But like you say, they're coming to Middlesbrough on a Wednesday night. You know, our tails are up. They're unbeaten as well. And like you said there, you know, the fancied from the outside as what, you know, as a promotion hopeful. But it's so early in the season, James, and like you say, it's 46 games long, and I feel if we can get our own form right, James, and get some consistency at home, and there's not too much tinkering, like Dave said, with a fest team. You know, I don't fear anyone at the moment coming to Riverside. If we can get a decent run going together, it's so early in the season. How many times do we see teams make a good start and fade away towards by the time we get to Christmas or even before? But I feel Warnock will have the lads up for tomorrow night, and I'm confident we'll come away with 3 points tomorrow night, James.
Oh, so all right, we'll get on to predictions then, mate. Damon, I'll start with you first. What's your prediction for Wednesday night?
Scrappy 1-0.
1-0 for the Boro. For the Boro, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely for the Boro. Don't forget we are.
How about yourself, David?
Jesus, why am I always a negative one? No, I've got a feeling it's going to be 1-1. And then, to be honest with you, if it is, I won't be downbeat. If anybody had offered 5 points out of a possible 9 to start with, we'd have snapped.
The fixtures we've been given, mate,
I'd have snapped the hands off. So I'm going to go 1-1, but obviously if we get a result, then, you know, what a start it's been.
Yeah. Chris Sykes is agreeing. He's got a 2-2 draw. Alex Hughes, 3-1 Boro win. And then you've got Zach Buckley, who's predicting a 1-0 QPR win. So we've got the full house there. Tony, you're expecting a win, yeah?
Yeah, I'm expecting like you say, this championship's mental, but I feel like we're on the front foot at the moment and we've got a bit of momentum with us. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win again on the Wednesday night, James.
That'll be fantastic. That'll be fantastic. That two home wins back to back. It goes a long way. That, as you say, Tony, just building up a bit of momentum at home for hopefully a good home season for the Boro.
Like you say, if we're going to be candidates for promotion, us as fans and the players, we've got to win these home games. And our fans performed on Saturday. We've got to do that tomorrow night, Wednesday night as well. We have to be that can't be a one-off. It has to be like that at the Riverside every home game.
Good shout, mate.
See, Tony,
it's not always easy midweek, is it?
You got to make it uncomfortable, haven't you? For these teams to come here, make it really uncomfortable, so they never want to play here ever again.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then after that, lads, big game at the weekend, away on the road again, Derby County. David, we're going to the Crisis Club at the iPro. What's your take on what's going on there in the East Midlands?
Quality, absolute quality. You know, I couldn't have wished it on a better team, and I hope they get relegated at Christmas. I mean, how they've got away from a points deduction is absolutely ridiculous. It's up there with PSG avoiding FFP rules. You know, 90 grand for a manager to be sat on the bench in Wayne Rooney is scandalous. And the way they've done it by getting around it, by using Bet365, doing the sponsors, is just, it makes a mockery of the whole league.
I mean, there's a lot of rumours swirling round about point deductions, the club actually going into administration. In all of this, do you have any sympathy for the Derby fans?
No. No.
You've always got to have sympathy for the fans, you know what I mean? It's their club, you know. Yeah, we've got our rivalries and, you know, we can't stand them on Saturday, but you don't want supporters, clubs, you know, going to the wall. You know, we can give them all the stick we want on Saturday, but you still want a Derby County in the championship.
Nah, not for me, like, no, absolute.
I think Michael Kelly sharing your thoughts, David.
I have to agree with David here, because if the boot was on the other foot and we were in that position, Derby would want us to go down, no questions asked. No questions asked.
Derby fans thought it was absolutely hilarious singing to Leeds fans about throwing it all away. You know, I'm not Leeds' biggest supporters, but it came and bit them on the backside itself, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I was singing that with them as well, Dave.
Yeah, well, at least they went for promotion.
And any pain that can be inflicted to our Yorkshire brothers and sisters, I'm all for, mate. Totally 100% behind it.
Can I just say, my stepdad watching tonight, and he's a Leeds fan.
No, Jesus, switch off.
Oh well, you recovered from Saturday yet?
Tell him have a look at how Pogba played on Saturday.
It seems as though most of our viewers are unsympathetic towards Derby's plight at the moment, and as you said, Tony, in recent years there seems to be quite a bit of bad blood and a bit of needle creeping into the games between ourselves and Derby. Have you got any special memories from visits either to the iPro or the baseball ground going back a few years? Any memories from going down to Derby to watch the Boro?
The iPro, just like you say, just the fans again, James. I've been working with Gary McDonald, who used to play for the Boro, and he said even back then the baseball ground, it was always rocking with Boro fans. You know what I mean, James? And like you say, it's always been one of our favourite places to travel to. But like you say, recent visits to the iPro, I think it was the weekend Brit scored. I think we were getting beat early on. I think we came away with a 2-1 win under Pulis.
Scored as well.
Yeah, he went mental.
I've never ducked so much. I've never wanted to sit down so quick in my life, because when that equaliser went in, I just knew I needed to get out the way, because after what had happened to me at previous away games in like Field Wednesday, where I was up 10 rows in front of where I should have been, I thought I'm getting down out of it. But like you say, the Boro fans absolutely love going to the Ibrox. It's a great place. Like you say, it's pretty much the same as the Riverside, but it's a great place for us to go, and we don't do too bad down there either.
Yeah. And Liam Wilds brought up a past memory here when Tunshai scored a cracking volley to win 1-0 in 2007. And Ian Black's come from a different angle, and fair play to you, Ian. He said, I'm meeting a Derby season ticket holder on Saturday, and he's a good lad, to be fair. And as you said, Tony, at the end of the day, we're all football fans, and as fans, we have very little control about what goes on in the boardroom and what decisions are made. And Mel Morris has made a few debatable decisions, shall we say, putting it kindly. But it's putting a whole football club, and Derby County, I think, are very similar to the Boro in a way in terms of the fan base, the club, what it's like. And that club means the world to their fans, doesn't it? So you have to have some sympathy for them, don't you, Tone?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the fans' fault how the club's being run. And like you say, the points deductions and all that, obviously the fines the club receive don't hurt the fans. But, you know, when the clubs... Look what happened to Sheffield Wednesday last season, and they've been relegated because of it. Yeah, we'd all like to see Derby get relegated, especially with Rooney in charge, you know what I mean? But, you know, you don't want these clubs to go out of existence, because there was a lot of talk during the lockdown about how many clubs were struggling, and it just break the back of, you know, of the pyramid of English football. We lost Bury, and we don't want to lose any more teams.
Yeah. It's not about liquidation, it's about fair play for me, and what they've done, and with what's happened with Wickham going down, I think it's just made a mockery of it, and I think that's what's rubbed a lot, especially me.
That's down to the EFL, isn't it?
Yeah, I understand, you know, but
that's the EFL's got no balls to absolute, you know, whether it was the day before the season still being relegated.
Yeah,
you know
I understand
what I mean?
that.
So,
but who's on the board for the EFL, and that's where it's wrong for me. And people are going to talk about Bowes being on the board. I don't believe anyone who's a managing director of a football club should be on the board of that particular league, because it just brings it into disrepute in my eyes.
It's a conflict of interest, Dave, isn't it?
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because they're all slapping each other on the ears anyway, and you know, secret handshakes. You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. You know, it goes on in every profession. It goes on.
West Ham got away with it, Mascherano on Tevez when Sheffield United went down, and Trevor Brooking and all that stuff. It's just all wrong.
Okay, right, boys, we've got positive results predicted for Wednesday night against QPR. What have we got ahead of the weekend to the visit to Derby? Damon, coming to you first. What do you reckon the score will be down at Derby?
3-0 Boro.
Whoa, very confident. David?
I think we'll win 1-0 on Saturday.
Hey, that's like a goal bonanza for you, Mr. Happy, isn't it? We're going to go away and win 1-0.
I know, yeah. Even if it's an own goal in the 90th minute.
Take it all day long, mate. Take it all day long. What about yourself, Tony?
Well, like you say, we've been to these crisis clubs before, i.e. Charlton. So I'm hoping, you know, Rooney's... He's got a hard job, Rooney, and I think it's going to be a lot harder for him on Saturday. I'm going to go for a 2-0 winner for the Boro on Saturday.
Zach Buckley's got us getting beat against QPR tomorrow 1-0, but he reckons we're going to win 10-0 on Saturday.
Yeah. I'll be honest, David, I'm with you. I think it'll be a lot tougher game than people think. But if you come away from away game with a win away, it's a good result no matter how many you win by, isn't it? If you get 3 points on the road, it's good.
Yeah, and it feels a lot more than 3 points, especially for the fans who've spent travelling and the money. You know, it just lifts the whole club away a win.
Yeah.
There's no better feeling coming home. There's no better feeling coming home. There's no better feeling, coming 3 points, especially from somewhere like that. It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
Before we go, Tony, I know you've got other plans at the weekend. You just want to share with the viewers, and if there's any way that can help you out at the weekend, mate?
Yeah, anybody watching Grangetown Walton Football Club are doing the annual sponsored bit on Saturday. We're doing a sponsored walk up Rosebery Topping, up the Captain Cook's Monument, and back to the King's Head car park on Saturday. So if there's any businesses or anybody out there want to donate anything towards it, we're doing it for 5 local charities. The last time, I think it was something like 1,600 quid, which we shared between 5 local charities, and we're hoping to beat that this year, James. You know what I mean?
Wow.
We've already raised quite a bit of money at the moment. We're through bonus balls and what have you. So if anyone wants to donate a quid, £5, just inbox me, and I'll give you the details where to send it to. But that's on Saturday, so I'll be missing the game Saturday. I'm missing the game tomorrow because I've donated the tickets to the cause. So it's like you say, they're all for local charities, and they're all charities that's close to everyone in Teesside's hearts. You know what I mean, James?
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Best of luck, as David Jackson says. Well done, mate. Unfortunately, everyone, we're out of time for this week's Monday Night Show. My thanks go to Guesty, Damon and David for joining us. And again, big thanks to you all for watching out there and contributing to the show tonight. Really enjoyed it. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to Boro Fan TV. We'll be back again next Monday to look back on the games with QPR and Derby and look ahead to the weekend clash with Tony Mowbray's Blackburn. Hopefully, we've still got an unbeaten league run behind us. But until then, from us all here at Boro Fan TV, good night and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.